Hello, this is the Teaserking coming to you with our weekly updates. We will do college football first, then I'll do one on pros. We had a great week in college last week. I was 5 for 5 with Utah State, which should have won the game with a bad pass interference call, but we still easily covered as they lost 17-14. I was a little surprised at the end of the game when it was 4th and 10 at their own 40. They didn't punt the ball. They had, I think, 2 or 3 timeouts. There was like 4 minutes left. And I think had they punted, they could have held SC because their run defense was great last week. And then, tried to get into position for a late field goal. I noticed that in college a lot. These teams will go for it on 4th down like it's a joke, like they can easily make it. At their own 20, their own 30, it's like they're just not too intelligent, these coaches. Anyway, that was last week. We had a great week, and we're hoping for one this week. This week, there's a lot more college games. The problem I see in college is a team like Wisconsin. They play UMass. They play North Dakota State. So the first 2 games, they win 45-0, and you have no idea if they're any good or not. Then they go on the road and should have beat Arizona State if their quarterback knew how to kneel down, kick a field goal at the end. They blow out Purdue. So now, are they good? Are they not good? Well, they play Ohio State this week, and they're getting 7.5. I have no idea what to do because I don't know how good Wisconsin is, and I hate to bet against Urban Meyer. I do like this Wisconsin coach much better than the other Wisconsin coach. He was the Utah State coach, and very, very good, so I very much like him. Superficially, the trend is Wisconsin. They're a good road dog. I don't know. I will not bet against Urban Meyer. I don't like betting against the best coach, the best quarterbacks. That's not how you make money. You look for mismatches. I'll watch the game, and we'll see how Wisconsin does here. I would think Ohio State wins by a few points, not by a ton. Probably by 8 to 10 points, somewhere in that neighborhood. Well, let's look at tonight. Utah State's laying 9.5 to San Jose State. Love Utah State. Utah State is 16-0. And let's see, since last year, Utah State is just cover and cover and cover. And the key is they have a great defense and they have a great quarterback. This kid should be a high draft pick. I don't know if he'll get drafted high, but he's only at Utah State. They'd rather have Blaine Gabbert in the pros or one of the Chad Henne or one of these idiots. But that's why they lose. Let's look at Utah State. Utah State's 14-0 since 12, 21-4 since 11, 28. Then they fall off a little in 2010. But basically, the last 2011, 12, and 13, they're 21-5. 7-0 is a road dog, 14-2 on the road. They're just not that strong as a home favorite. They're 6-3, but on the road they're 14-2, exceptional. That's the type of team that I look for. That's the type of team I find, and that's why I do my little trends here. These are macro trends. I know you can't see them. They're each team by conference, and the gold is what I look for. And basically, it shows you where the money's at. And this is how I can come up with the Utah State. This is why you pay me, because who else is giving Utah State against USC and winning the game and should have won the game straight out? That's what I'm looking for. Fresno State's very hot. San Jose State's very hot. San Jose State lost their coach last year. He did such a good job. The coach left. So did the Utah State and the Louisiana Tech coach. All the teams that were covering and covering and covering, they lost their coaches. It's terrible. You just get a feel on them. Anyway, I got to take Utah State laying the 3 tonight. It's very hard not to go with them. I'm sorry if you've missed the game. I think it's on at 10. I'll post this, but anyway, that's okay. Some of the other games I like. Florida State's laying 22 to Boston College. Boston College is terrible. They lost to SC 35-7. Florida State's been blowing out teams. In the history, Florida State has dominated in the last 2 years. And Florida State, they go to Boston. It shouldn't be that cold yet, so the cold weather won't bother the hot weather team. I like Florida State laying the 16. Iowa's laying 2.5 to Minnesota in Minnesota. I love Minnesota here. Minnesota has been strong. They blew out a good San Jose State team last week, and they blew out New Mexico State, which everybody does. And they just look really good and solid as long as the coach can stay healthy. I've never had to worry about a coach staying healthy before. This is kind of it's sad but true with Kill, but it's a good coach. They got good players. You got Minnesota as a home dog. Iowa had 2 touchdowns on punt returns last week and 2 touchdowns in interception returns. That's 28 points. They're not going to get those gifts against Minnesota. Minnesota can move the ball. Iowa's okay. They're not special, and I don't know why they're a road favorite here. I think Minnesota's a 3-point favorite in this game. I like Minnesota as the dog here. Georgia laying 3 to LSU. Not sure I get this one. LSU is the better team all over the place. Better offense, better defense. I know that Gurley, the running back on Georgia's very good, as is the quarterback. I understand that. They're a good offensive team, but look what Clemson did to them. They don't have half the speed or defense LSU has. LSU is a complete team. This is what I mean when I say I'm looking for a good dog. When you can get a team such as Alabama, LSU, Ohio State when they're good, Stanford, Oregon, any of these teams as dogs, you jump all over them. And I don't think Georgia's better than LSU. They lost to Clemson. They're okay. They're not. The fact the game's in Georgia doesn't matter. LSU won at Alabama a couple years ago, 9-6. Definitely love LSU. Getting 3 up to 6 is 9. That game I would bet heavy and all over the place. Many teasers. Next game's Washington laying 9.5 to Arizona. Washington at home is like Seattle Pro at home. Same stadium, loud noise, very good quarterback this year. Arizona, you got Rich Rodriguez. I remember him from Michigan. Couldn't win on the road. Again, you got a desert team playing in the Pac, in the Pacific Northwest. Washington's a much better team here. I'm not afraid of Rodriguez. I'd cut it to 3.5. It's cold. Alabama's laying 16 to Ole Miss. I think that's too many points. Alabama's okay. They're a good defensive team. They can run the ball, but Ole Miss is a very good offensive team. Now, I know they beat Texas 44-23, and you go, well, yeah, Texas sucks. I agree with that, but they still scored 44. They scored 35 on Vandy. I just like Mississippi with 22 points. It's just too many points. Alabama is not just going to shut out every team. And a team like Ole Miss, who plays them every year, surely is not as intimidated as like when Notre Dame and Michigan played them, who've never seen them and had the speed. Ole Miss is a very good team, and they play them, so they're used to them. I like the 22 points there. I'm not going to play it very heavily, but I'm not calling for an upset, but Ole Miss will give them a game. Oregon 38 over Cal. It's just too many points. I know Cal's terrible. Of course, Oregon's great. They'll put up 50, 60 points like Ohio State did. Ohio State put up 52 on them. I just don't know how many Cal will score. I know they're weak this year. Like I said, they got a new coach. I think he's the San Jose State coach or the L-Tech coach, one of those two. He's a good offensive coach. I think he's the L-Tech coach, so he's a good offensive coach. It's just a lot of points to lay in a conference game, and Cal still has talent. So I just kind of stay away from that. Let's go. Oklahoma laying 3.5 to Notre Dame. I'm going to watch that game. I think Blake Bell makes a huge difference for Oklahoma. I would love Oklahoma as the dog in this game. At Notre Dame, you got to beat the refs. You got all the shadiness that happens at Notre Dame. I'd be reluctant to take plus 2.5, but I can't take Notre Dame. They look weak. I don't like their quarterback, so I'm going to watch this game intently, but normally I'd like the dog in this game, so I would take the Notre Dame, but I think Oklahoma's better with the quarterback. But I don't, Notre Dame will come out in green jerseys or orange jerseys or polka dot jerseys. Who knows? They'll try anything, so I'll stay away from that. Miami of Florida laying 19 to South Florida. I like Miami here. Miami's got a great running back, good quarterback, good offense. They'll put up a lot of points. South Florida is terrible this year, and Skip Holtz left them in shambles. I just don't see it. I think Miami covers, cut them down to 13. I think that's pretty easy there. You know, it's in Florida, so the heat's not going to bother Miami traveling there. And they beat Florida, so I look for Miami to win this easily. Clemson laying 29 to Wake. Love Clemson here. Wake lost to a Division I, Wofford or something like that. Clemson beat Georgia. They're laying 29, cut them to 23. I don't see any problem with Clemson covering that. I know, it's conference, but Clemson's got it all. Good quarterback, running back, receiver, good defense. Got the win over Georgia, so I like Clemson a lot here. One game I'm not going to play, but I want to comment on is Houston laying 3 to Texas San Antonio, the Roadrunners. Texas San Antonio is not that bad of a team. They have a very good offense, and they are very mature this year. They have a lot of seniors and juniors, a lot of players returning. Houston didn't impress me too much. They barely beat Rice. I like Texas San Antonio plus 9 at home as a dog against Houston. I'm going to watch this game because I think Houston, you always get a scare because Houston's pretty good, but that's a game I would not play Houston in. I would play Texas San Antonio plus the 9. Next game, South Car laying 7.5 to UCF. This game scares me a bit because UCF went to Penn State and won, and UCF's a very good team. But I'm going to take South Car. They need the game. They're in the conference. They did lose to Georgia. They're not going to lose again unless they play Alabama or LSU or something like that. They can't afford to lose, and I like when these teams go out of conference, especially it's a must-win, and really you're laying 1.5. I don't see any problem with South Car winning the game. I think they win by about 10 points, not a blowout, but I can't see them losing. Wyoming laying 12.5 to Texas State. Who the hell's Texas State, you ask? They're a new team that came in last year into the WAC like Texas San Antonio. The difference is Texas San Antonio actually has a good quarterback and is kind of recruited well, where Texas State's absolutely horrible. Wyoming also has a great quarterback. I think his name's Smith, and they've been putting up 40, 50 points a game. They're laying only 12.5. You cut them to 6.5. Absolutely love Wyoming in this game to win by over 20. Wyoming is a real strong team this year, and against weak competition like a Texas State, they're going to blow them out. If they played better competition like Nebraska, where they lost 37-34. They scored 30 points on Nebraska. It means they're going to score 50 on Texas State. They scored 50 on Air Force last week. So this game's just going to be a blowout. This is a highly, highly rated game this week. Talked about Ohio State. All right, here's my favorite type of game. You got UNLV as a road favorite, laying 2 to New Mexico. How in God's name is UNLV favored over a high school team? UNLV's terrible. They cannot win at home as a favorite. They are not going to win as a road favorite. Huge betting trend on New Mexico, who's not that bad this year. They got a better coach. They look better. They're winning games, and they're much competitive. I love them getting 8 points at home. Home dog, New Mexico against a very weak favorite. I don't know how they're favored in this game. Love New Mexico plus 8. Next game is San Diego State laying 18 to New Mexico State. Now, I'm not crazy about San Diego State. They're very weak this year. But New Mexico State is the worst team in college football, and I've been betting against them every week. UCLA crushed them last week. Minnesota crushed them for me a couple weeks back. I just don't know with San Diego State if they're strong enough. We only got to win by 12, but they're not good. So I kind of, if you bet it small. You bet San Diego State here, but I just don't like it. They're just too small. So again, the plays are Minnesota plus the 8.5. Florida State laying 16, Utah State laying 3.5, New Mexico plus 8, LSU plus 9, Washington laying 4, Miami laying 13, Clemson laying 23, South Car laying 1, Wyoming laying 6.5. There's 2 locks there. Other games that I kind of like just to comment, I'm not playing. Stanford laying 4.5 at Washington State. I know Washington State's passing better, but Stanford's got a great secondary this year. And their offense will pound Washington State. They won't lose this game. Texas San Antonio, who I'm going to watch but not play. It's just too risky. And I think that's about it. There's a lot of good games, but that's this week's games, and the trends are just the best trend is Utah State, Fresno State, San Jose State, and the best trend against right now is New Mexico State is 13-1 against. Idaho is 11-2 against, and Nevada's 12-2 against the last year and a half. In other conferences, real quickly, I'll just try to get some good trends so everybody gets them. Bet against Southern Miss, they're 11-2 against. They got Boise this week, and I don't know what's wrong with Boise. The quarterback's not that good. Their defense, they lost 41-40 last week. I think Boise will kill Southern Miss this week, but I can't bet the quarterback. He's just not good. Who else? BYU's 22-4 overall. Bet against TCU, they're 12-2 because they move conferences. You got to be careful when these teams move conferences. It's very difficult because TCU's beating up on Utah and the San Diego States and the Colorado States, and then they get in against Oklahoma, Texas. They can't handle them, so their trends get screwed up. But they're not ready to. Let's see, the Big Ten, Northwestern's 13-2, and Michigan. I thought the game was fixed. Now they either fixed it twice in a row, or they really suck. This Gardner looks like Denard. He can't throw. He throws too many interceptions. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how they scored 41 on Notre Dame. It's a mystery to me. Go against Illinois, 11-2, 85%, 21-3, 88%. Illinois has been bad. They've played a little bit better so far this year, but I don't know. We'll see. Nothing in the Pac-10. The best team to bet against is USC, 14-2 bet against. Who would figure that one out? Oregon's 30-9. Stanford's 32-9. Stanford's been a good team, but the spreads start getting higher and it's harder to cover, so they've been going down a little bit. Let's see. Baylor's 10-2. Oak State's 20-5. And Kansas State was wonderful, 19-4, but they don't have Colin Klein this year. Stay away from them unless they start showing improvement. Bet against Nebraska, 13-3. Nebraska's 24-4 to bet against, 33-7 to bet against. Can you believe since 2010? Nebraska's 33-7 bet against, 83%. They're just terrible. They're terrible. They're 13-0 bet against on the road. So 18-2 since 2010. So you get Nebraska on the road, bet against them. Let's see. Miami's 11-2. Clemson's 12-1. That's now you know why I like Miami and Clemson also. And Maryland, surprise, surprise, who would take them? Are 11-1. Their last 12 against the spread. Betting against Virginia, 11-2. And here's a good one, 12-1. BC is 12-1. Bet against. We got Florida State against BC, so we're going to make it 13-1 hopefully. And let's see. Here's a strange one on Alabama. Alabama, if you took them as a home favorite, 6-4 since 2011. But as a road favorite, they're 15-0. So when Alabama's on the road, you bet them. When they're at home, you just watch them because they're a terrible home favorite. I mean, they're only 11-5 since 2010. All these national titles, they're 11-5, 69% as a home favorite, 19-2 as a road favorite. So it's very clear where you play them at. And by the way, if you ever get them as a dog, they're 6-0 since 2007. The bet against team Auburn, 10-2. Bet against Arkansas, 10-2. And LSU's a very strong team. They're 21-5 since 11. Not as strong. Last year they struggled a little bit, but they're very good as a home favorite. They're not a road dog often, but they're 9-2 as a road dog since 2007. And when we look at Georgia as a home favorite, they're only 8-3. They're not a very strong home favorite. So, they don't blow away people. And the last one is the whatever the Big East is called now. Syracuse is 13-1, and Rutgers 22-4 against the number, and Louisville 30-7 since 2010. They've tapered off a little, but they're still 79%, 11-3 last year and this year. Bet against team, there you go. South Florida 91%. Last year 21-4 bet against since 2011 at 84%. 28-7 since 2010. So now you know why we're betting against South Florida with Miami. See, everything makes sense once you see the trends, you see the matchups. I also look at the history, how one team plays another. Case in point, last night, I like Georgia Tech superficially, but Virginia Tech's a strong road dog. But when I looked at the history, the last 2 times Virginia Tech won the game, meaning they know how to defend Georgia Tech, meaning Georgia Tech ain't winning the game, and they lost the game. So that's what you look at. You want to see before the game starts, can Team A move against Team B? Now you look at the trends, and it shows you, like a Utah State, they covered. Obviously, they can move against most teams. And when they move on USC, you know they're not going to have trouble moving on San Jose State. And that's a big key to it. Once you see this and you understand it, then you go and say, okay, can they move and can they stop the other team? Now, Utah State proved this. But that's what I look at in the trend and the head-to-head matchups. That's why I do them in the pros, because it shows you when Team A plays Team B, Team A always wins. There's a reason, because they know how to stop them and they know how to move on them, and that's really the basis of what we're forecasting is who's going to win the game. Well, you got to look at a lot of it, the history. You got to look at the matchup. Can the team move on each other? And that's basically what I do. And in the teasers, 6-point teasers, you get enough points. Somebody asked me about 13-point teasers. I don't need 13 points. Now I got to pick 3 or 4 games to win when all I got to do is pick 2. And I pick 75, 80% with 2 games. So what do I need 13 points and try to pick 3 games? I got 6 is enough. I'm not going to miss. I don't lose a lot of games by 1 and 2 points. I either lose because I get 5 turnovers, like Minnesota last week against Cleveland. I mean, I could have had 13 points. I think I still lose. Yeah, they would have got plus. Maybe I would have won. Maybe it would have been +5, but still, Minnesota should not have lost that game. Anyway, have a great week. Good luck. Plenty of winners here. Again, reach me at www.teaserking.com. Leave me a comment here. Any questions or comments, please let me know. I'm always interested to help everybody. And good luck. I'm sure you'll make some good money this week. Have a nice night.